podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hi, it's Mr. Byfanel from Millwall Football Club, and you're listening to the world-famous Achtung Millwall.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Achtung Millwall, reviewing Saturday lunchtime's magnificent 1-1 draw. Magnificent in the end, I think. Having taken the lead in a game that we probably wouldn't have expected much from ordinarily, I thought there might even be a sense of frustration at the loss of the points. But anyway, here to review what I regard as a magnificent point, a 1-1 draw. Here to review it is someone who was there. It's Merv Payne. Merv, well done for going, mate. How did you find your day out in Stoke?
Really good for a day out as days out in Stoke go. Yeah, it was good. I've been there quite a few times. And it's like I say, it's a decent ground to get to and get away from and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, yeah, if I might just want to put my ground hopper anorak hat on for a minute.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, we got there pretty early, and I mean, the food and drink is unbelievable. When you think of the sort of fare you used to get back in the 80s.
Yeah,
there was like 3 different beers on tap,
right?
A vast array of pies and roll-over hot dogs I've never heard of, and of course the compulsory oat cake because you're in Stoke. Dirty fries,
filling stuff, isn't it? You know,
dirty fries, wines, spirit mix. It's unbelievable
Right.
And it was also my first experience of so-called safe standing.
Right.
They
Okay.
put us in an opposite corner to where they usually used to put you. And you've got this like railed seating sort of affair, which it was really good. Because I mean, every Millwall away game I've been to, everyone stands up anyway, but obviously it's not. They keep reminding you it's not safe. But it was it was great. I was really impressed by it.
I'm trying to think. We had safe standing. I think it was Queen's Park Rangers, Merv. Their away end. I think it was. Maybe listeners can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was QPR where they had that kind of. You have a kind of like a fold down seat and a standing.
Yeah, area. Like a rail in front of you,
and then like a rail in front that you lean on.
Yeah,
and I found it pretty good because you could also sit down at half time.
Well, this is if you want to take the weight off at half time, you can. Yeah, it's the best of both. Yeah, it was good.
So I found it pretty good. It'd be nice to see us try it. I don't know if it's practical. I have an idea that when Steve Kavanagh was chief executive, they were looking into it, but I think the design of the den doesn't lend itself. The angles don't lend itself.
Yeah, I think you need more space on the steps where the seats are bolted, I think.
You need a steeper angle, I think, as well for the angles at the den are designed for seats, aren't they? They're based on the Ibrox Park designs of the early 90s. But no, I found it pretty good. I didn't know they'd done it at Stoke. That's quite interesting.
I know when I bought my ticket, it said away end seats, away end stand, and I thought, well, that's handy. And that was really good. So decent view. It's decent old ground. It's still fairly new ground.
Well done to the travelling support that came out. I watched it on TV, listeners, on Sky. 12:30 start slightly put me off of going up there, Merv. I'm going to be really honest with you, but well done to the travelling support. Came over quite well, I thought, on the Sky TV coverage.
Decent numbers, and you'd expect it to be a bit subdued, being a 12:30, but far from it. They were in good voice right from the start. It was really, really impressive display. It's and again, it's another example of how the mood around the club's sort of changed recently.
Yeah.
I think it's what Harris is doing. It's just lifting the mood all round, really. It was.
Well, I believe so. I mean, we'll run through the starting 11 just as we're reviewing the game. Jensen in goal, backline Leonard, Cooper, Tanganga, and Danny Mack. Incidentally, Danny Mack getting some heat online. I can't believe what some people will get themselves worked up about, that people digging him out for a poor performance. I thought that we defended really well. But anyway, Danny Mack on the left side. In front of them, Wintle and Denor. Then the attacking three of Aziz, who I think is, I think he got man of the match, Merv, from the club vote. I wouldn't argue with that. I thought he'd been doing really well. Did really well Saturday. Romain Esse, and the return of Tom Bradshaw alongside Coleman. I mean, I was a bit unsure whether that was an attacking three or whether it's more of a 4-4-2 in the first half, which kind of pleasantly pleased to see it, really. But well done to Tom Bradshaw. I did read a post-match quote by Neil Harris where he said that he'd only played in 3 months. He'd done 45 minutes with under 21. So I think they just used him as a first half, get some minutes and some take the weight off the squad a little bit. I thought he did well, Tom Bradshaw, as a starter.
He did. Yeah. I must admit, I think we were all a bit surprised when we saw his name on the starting lineup, and as it looked as if he was starting with 2 strikers. I think again, Harris, has confirmed that he was he's because everyone knows Bradshaw will run and run forever for you. Run through
which is what he was on. Take the weight off
the Honeyman role, I think.
Yeah,
because Honeyman was absolutely worn out. And even when Honeyman came on, he looked spent straight away. So, but yeah, I mean, and what was a pity was Bradshaw had a real good chance sort of midway through the first half that you'd normally expect to stick away. But you probably think because of that little spell out, he's just lacking that bit of sharpness.
Just a touch.
It was a shame, but it was a strange sort of game. The standouts for me were Essie, who just seems to get better with every game.
Yeah.
And Aziz, another assist for him. He causes defenders problems when he's got the ball, and with just a little bit more composure, he could have nicked it for us near the end. I think about 10 minutes to the end, he had
there was a late chance, wasn't there? It was quite an open game, really, Merv. I mean, for the classic, can you do it on a Tuesday night in Stoke, or maybe a lunchtime in Stoke? Cliche didn't really apply. I thought it was quite a back and forth game. 4-4-2. We had Coburn and Bradshaw as our front two, certainly for the first 45. But we were nearly behind in the first seconds of the game. It was my heart skipped a beat with that opening move from Stoke. They fired wide when I thought it might have been easier to score in those opening seconds.
It's one of them where you think that's in, and they're off to a bad start. But I mean, it's one of those games where you could have had any number of results, really. I mean, Stoke could have won it comfortably. They're still moaning about the penalty decision they should have had. They missed a couple of good chances, but then so did Millwall. I mean, it could have been 3-1 to either team, really, or it could have been 3-3. It was one of those games, but
through the first half, I mean, I've noted down chance on 10 minutes as he's cross taking off a Coburn late almost in front of goal, shot wide by Stoke. Then there's chance, I think, that you referred to on 20, Merv, which was the nice control, kind of volley from the edge of the penalty area, almost on the penalty spot over the bar by Bradshaw, which was a big opportunity. But I mean, Jensen also made a good save just straight after that.
Yes, he did. Made a great one-handed save. Yeah. He's looking more and more assured, definitely.
Very assured. I mean, it was I think that we're entitled to be tired. But anyone digging out Danny Mack online, I think that for reasons that always escape me, it's always the Millwall supporting players that seem to get it. But I would say the entire defence and defensive midfield are entitled to be a bit tired, listeners. They've not long come off of
definitely.
2 almighty games, Merv, against Burnley and Leeds, 2 of the best teams in a division. I mean, I wouldn't put Stoke in that category overall, but they were at home and they weren't the bad side. They were quite lively when they were getting forwards, and their defence was tired.
Yeah, there's certainly no mug Stoke. They come off the back of 2 wins. They've got the new manager. Still got that new manager bounce. I said they're decent at home, and it is. I mean, given the way Harris has us playing this sort of high tempo, in your face sort of football, to play 3 games in 7 days against, certainly against tough opposition in Leeds and Burnley, and then go to Stoke, it's not easy. And you've only got to look at, the likes of Man City losing 4 in a row and Arsenal tripping up.
It catches up with everyone, even the highest.
People scoff when you talk about tiredness for professional footballers, but it is because you wouldn't expect like an Olympic sprinter to go for the world record in all the heats, including the.
No,
but so that's what Harris is juggling his squad and rotating them so that they can play that sort of high tempo, high energy sort of football that's working for them week in, week out. And it's
absolutely
Harris in himself. Yeah, Honeyman was absolutely spent, and he said we run the risk of sort of breaking him if we don't give him.
Quite dramatic language. But I can get that. I mean, you think about it. We've played last Sunday against Burnley, so. We come off the pitch. I think Neil made this point, so I might be paraphrasing a bit, listeners, but we've come off the pitch on Sunday, 5 o'clock, obviously, and by the time they've got past all the TV malarkey, then come off the pitch till after 5 on Sunday. Then we're playing again Wednesday night versus Leeds, a very, very decent side. They've pulled off one of the best results for a long while, I think, against Leeds.
Yeah.
And then we're playing at 12:30 on Saturday. So
exactly.
that's within 5 to 6 days. We've packed in
6 days, almost. Yeah.
High-level games, and we've come off with 7 points out of 9.
7 points.
So,
I was going to say, over the 7 points last Sunday morning, we'd have bitten your hand off, no doubt about it. Because I was expecting no more than one. In my sort of pessimistic outlook, I was thinking, realistically, you expect Leeds and Burnley to sort of be too good for us, and Stoke would be a draw at best. But we've gone into an international break, hopefully, as far as I'm aware, with no injury issues.
No.
In a really good position in the league, a nice little unbeaten run, and it sets it up beautifully for Sunderland at home, doesn't it? Really, in the next.
Well, it does. I mean, hence my We let's go through the chances. Obviously, we took the lead on 41 after chances at both ends. I think Jensen made a decent save just shortly before the goal. Yeah. So this is the Aziz cross in from the left. Nice move, actually. Whether it touched Bradshaw's heel or not was a source of much debate. Incidentally, TV, you would have missed this, Mert, but the TV co-commentator was a very miserable sounding Gary Rowett. And he did us on, apparently did us on Wednesday night.
The Leeds game as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so he must be like the professional Millwall commentator, but he reminds me of when you're broken up. When you're broken up with your ex-girlfriend and all they want to do is see you fail and struggle and fall on your face. He had that kind of miserablest quality. It's strange. I mean, he did well for us as a manager, really, in overall terms, but he was never a Millwall manager, was he, Merv? I mean, he just has a downbeat quality that just don't fit with the Millwall vibe, in my opinion.
No, absolutely,
Listening to him on the TV, I thought I wouldn't want to be working with you particularly. You give me the after a while, Yeah, and I'm sure that must have.
I think that was what was evident in the way they played. I think often a team reflects its manager's personality. I mean, you look at, for a good example, I think it was Millwall under Dennis Wise.
Agree.
Dennis Wise, they got to the cup final, very much reflected his personality. Millwall under George Graham was very similar. They were very well organised, very sort of regimented, but also had a bit of flair. And I think under Gary Rowett, as I say, nothing against the bloke at all. The years he was in charge at Millwall, he did brilliantly for us. But there comes a time when you've got to sort of you've got to have a bit more about you, a bit more fire in you. And Harris clearly brings that. I mean, he was talking today about the fun they have on the training pitch.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that quote, Merv. You
can't imagine Rowett doing much banter, can you? Really?
Not at a very high level. No, I mean, he never sounds very, very happy when he's talking. I mean, who knows what he's like as a man, but. I mean, Harris was making the point that they enjoy each other's company, basically, Merv. So it's fun to be at work, but then the business starts when it needs to, and I think that's evident by the results. Ball in from the left side from Aziz, so that's another assist. You said that already. Which is quite consistent work now from a bloke that was being written off by some as sending back to Reading type of thing.
I'm always think what I cast my mind back to and I'm showing my age here, but back towards the end of the 86-87 season, and we were obviously going nowhere, weren't going up, weren't going down, and I think on deadline day we brought in Jimmy Carter. We got him on a free from QPR.
That's right. Yeah,
we played Oldham at home. Yeah, we played Oldham at home at the Den. It was an absolutely skull-crushingly boring 0-0. It was freezing cold, and Carter made his debut. And I remember one of the wags on the halfway line shouting as they kicked off, "Oi, Doherty, you've left the fucking mascot on the pitch," or something like that. Because he was that little, and he didn't look anything like a football. He was so thin and small, and he didn't contribute a single bloody thing, No, and we're thinking, Christ, we're properly scraping the bottom of the barrel here. We're getting QPR's cast-offs, and then of course you have the whole banana fiasco. But what a player he turned out to be. Became, I mean, really quickly, not overnight, but in a matter of a few months, he became that exciting winger.
Jimmy Carter would have a huge influence on our promotion season, and
exactly.
I mean, you take your hat off to Femi Aziz, because he would have read the same stuff that we all see on social media. Maybe even people, saying on our show. I mean, I put my own hand up. I wasn't really convinced when I first saw him, but in a matter of a very few starts, get a bit of confidence, get the mental strength to ride through it, Merv, and he's now looking like a must-pick starter. Well, that's quite an achievement for a player that was getting criticised. So not that long ago. So crossing tapped in by Coburn, another essential pick now.
Yeah, Coburn. He's just such a good player. We were talking about this. Just his hold up play, and I don't want to make too many comparisons, but he just gives me little flashes of Cascarino at times, because he sometimes looks a bit clumsy, a bit ungainly. Yeah. But yet you can see he's got a really good footballing brain. He knows exactly where to be, and that's what I think that's 3 starts and 2 goals now, isn't it? And the other start, that's right. Yeah. When he went off injured after 20 minutes, he started against Preston. His debut, didn't, and he scored.
He's always looking at danger as well, isn't he? He looks like he wants to get involved, and he makes defences on edge, put them on edge. And great. I mean, unfortunately, he's only a lone player, but there we are.
Yeah, I know people are already saying, "Oh, we should sign him," but I'm pretty sure Middlesbrough have made it clear that he's not for sale. And I think we discussed this last week. That's why we brought in Ivanovic. And but for me, I say Essie was the player for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember on Sky Sports a long time ago, they had one of these little gimmicks of theirs was called Player Cam, and I think you could press the red button or something, and you could
just follow one player.
I watched Essie for about 5 or 10 minutes in the first half, and I mean he's just on a different wavelength, and he wants the ball all the time. He always wants the ball, and he's not afraid when he's got it. He just doesn't. He'll just take people on. Some of the touches he shows and some of the stuff he's trying to do. My only worry is that it's going to get to a point where he's probably too good. And the players around him aren't on the same wavelength, so we can't get the most out of him. But
I think you see that a few times, Merv. You see it a few times where his imagination is running. He needs quality players that can match him in terms of his thinking. There was just after we scored, I've got 45 minutes. I'll be at the very end of the half. A beautiful turn by SA, and then a cross right over the bar. I think maybe the ball was probably into the box towards Coburn, but I think he had a go from there. But I mean that's the beauty of the play. I mean, I think we should enjoy him while we got him, because I can't see.
Definitely.
Can't see us keeping him. Who knows what January will bring, but whether that will bring Premier League interest in the boy, I don't know. But he's certainly. I make you right. He's ahead of other players in the way he thinks and his touch and all the rest of it.
But I mean, if he sticks around long enough for Ivanovic to sort of mature and blossom, he's similarly came on a sub.
Yeah,
and he showed some little flick. There was like a 50-50 ball right in the centre circle, and he sort of jumped up and in one move turned and flicked it on. So I think it was to Aziz, and it was unbelievable how he managed to do it. So he's another one, but hopefully the combination of like Essie and Ivanovic once Ivanovic is established, it could be really exciting, because they're
good.
Really good quality technically good quality footballers.
I agree. 1-0 at the break. I must admit, having got one in front, I was left with a sense of disappointment. We came under the cosh a little bit in the second half, Merv, didn't we? And we dodged the bullet with the penalty shout. On TV, when you see it replayed, I think we did dodge a bullet. Gary Rowett and the co-commentator, both of them were highly Stoke focused, were outraged. I mean, we caught a break there because we don't catch
definitely.
Many.
I think it was Berger, wasn't it, the player that went down? I think he made a meal of it, to be honest. But
he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
but you will. You want your forwards to make a meal of it if it gets a penalty. Yeah. So he's going.
But we was all basically the entire away end was praising the fact, or relieved at the fact we haven't got VAR in the Championship, because we know if that had been
it would have been a pen. And there's no dodging
Park,
it.
It'd have been a pen, all day long. Yeah. So we did get away with one there,
But the goal when it went in, I mean, that's the only disappointment I had from the game. Really, was the marking. It was a near post corner, wasn't it? And put in.
Yes, and he came from nowhere unmarked.
I think it might have been Honeyman who left his man. And at the time, I was thinking, well, he should have done better. But when you weigh up the effort that he's put in and the fact that Neil Harrison is saying that he's been spent, whether he should have been on the pitch or not is another matter. But I suppose that's where he switched off for a moment, and they've equalised. Disappointing, Merv, I think.
It is, but I mean, in the context of it, I mean, I think if we'd have dominated the game and missed loads of chances, and that had been their only clear-cut chance, I would have been gutted. But like I say, we could easily have found ourselves 3-1 down, to be honest, at some stage. We did. I mean, their manager made 3 subs quite early in the second half, and that really helped. That really buoyed
enlivened them, didn't it?
Yeah, and you can't criticise Harris for not countering that, because it's still very early to make changes. You had to hope that sort of soak it up. I mean, I thought Ryan Wintle did really well. I was impressed with him from a sort of a defensive point of view. He looks a solid player. You know, no frills, just solid and gets the job done. He looks a decent sort of addition to the team. And but yeah, I mean, I think it was one of those where the part of the game where you felt it was coming, and you thought, if we can just sort of weather out this next 5-10 minutes, then we might be all right.
We might have, yeah.
We were actually looking at odds on 1-0 before the game. You could get 8-1, and we were seriously tempted to have a few quid on
close,
it. But yeah,
close
and it wasn't.
Thing.
Yeah, it would have been gutted. But yeah, I do think, to be honest, towards the end, I think when we got into like the 4th minute of injury time, Harris brought Hutchinson on, and I think that was obviously his way of saying, I'll take a draw. You know, and we were all more than happy with a draw, to be honest. I was anyway. I thought it was fair. I thought it was a very good point. I mean, the Aziz chance, we had a couple of chances, Aziz on 64, but then the chance I think that you mentioned earlier on, which was an SA to Aziz pass, and he fired across goal when maybe he could have done, he would have expected to. Yeah, a little bit of composure, but that will come with his game, definitely. He'll get.
Yeah.
If he the more he starts and the more he's getting involved, and he's just offering us something we never had previously under Rowett, and that is just that sort of width. And firing the ball into the box, and he's going to get. You can see he's going to get more and more confident. And yeah, it's just that's just a little part of his game, the finishing, that I'm sure Harris. I mean, he doesn't need a better mentor than Neil Harris to work on finishing. And he's got lots of good strikers around him. So yeah, if he sharpens that up, he'd be a cracking little player.
Achtung, Millwall.
One man of the match I noted on the Saturday afternoon when the game finished, I thought Tanganga did very, very well, but he always does very, very well, Merv, doesn't he?
It's got to the point now you just take it for granted. He's just immense.
It's going to be good.
and we pointed out how the effect it has on Cooper, and how well Cooper plays, because he's got that reassurance of Tanganga, he just marshals the back line, and Cooper then feels he can go forward. He feels more comfortable defending. He feels more comfortable going forward. You look at Cooper without Tanganga the first couple of games of the season when we were letting goals in for fun. And poor Cooper, he looked like Bambi, didn't he, at times? He really looked all at sea. And, I mean, when Hutch was at his peak, again, Cooper shone. And, I mean... Yeah,
he needs a good player alongside him, doesn't he? It must make make your job a lot easier, mustn't it?
Yeah. But, Tanganga's he's just awesome. He's got the lot, really. His positioning, his pace, the way he deals with stuff so calmly, it's just really sort of reassuring to have him there. You just know you're not going to concede that many when he's there, really.
Absolutely. I just picked out one tweet from many listeners. Steve Evans, shout out to Steve. He said, most of my feelings summed up here, Merv. He said, if you said after Wednesday that snap your arm off for a point at Stoke to keep the run going, we had chances to win it, but also Stoke should have had a Stonewall penalty, which is correct. Yeah. Nice break now over the international break, and after a demanding week, and a big game, of course, versus Sunderland when we come back. And the club have put out 15 points from our last 7 matches. Unbelievable effort. It is an incredible effort when you see that. And the other one I picked out was a website called Coach's Voice on Twitter. They say since Neil Harris was reappointed in February, Millwall have won the most points in the Championship, Merv. They've now beaten Leeds and Burnley in their last 2 games, of course, and have won their last 4 without conceding. That's an incredible statistic, the most points of all the Championship clubs since February, given where we were when he came in and the reasons why he came in, Merv.
Yeah, when you cast your mind back to the state the team was in when he arrived, it was in total disarray, wasn't it? I mean, morale was on the floor. And you thought, I mean, I had reservations about Harris coming back, purely because, not because I didn't think he could do the job, but purely because I thought the job was just beyond him, beyond anyone. I thought we were dead in bed. I thought we were relegated, to be honest. And I didn't want that to be on his Millwall record, because he didn't deserve it, because it wouldn't have been his Millwall team that went down, but it would have been him. The history book sort of stated that he took us down. It would have been a really sad sort of epitaph to what he's achieved as a player and a manager at the club. And that was my only reservation. So to be proved wrong on that score, I'm chuffed to bits with, and he's just taken them on. He's just moved on and on, and he's been obviously backed in the transfer market, and what he's doing with the team. You can see the team. You can see he's gradually building, and they're getting better and better. And you can see they're building something and sort of just shifting the way they're playing. It's really good to see.
I was thinking about the style, because obviously that statistic, or that the most points in the Championship since February, and 15 points out from the last 7 games, I think it was. Yeah, there it is. Last 7 matches, 15 points. The style has evolved, Merv. I mean, this start of this season, I think Neil probably took on some of the criticism that many people have been making about the style of football, the fact that they get under the Rowett and then the brief Edwards period, but that our style had become rather boring to watch. And he tried to open up the, open the door slightly, didn't he, at the start of this season? And I think he made the point in a post-match conversation with Mill TV that we were getting beat. And that's changed now. We are now built on solid defence, and then, we're being unafraid to play that style and almost Rowett style. We've said this, you and me said this the other day, didn't we? It's almost Rowett style, but played to the max with a manager that I think the players enjoy being under, rather than it's the way it seemed under Gary Rowett. I think it must require some mental strength to stick to your guns and to change to a style that most people would have said, "Oh, here we go again, same old." But he's kept to it, and the rewards are that we're sitting. Was it now eighth? I think in the table.
8th, 2 points off the playoffs. Yeah, you can't argue with that. You just look at some of the teams that are up there; it's unbelievable. It's
the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention two things about Stoke. The impeccable remembrance tribute before the game, which was observed impeccably by everyone.
I was going to mention that. It was, to be honest, I mean, to not overdo it, it was literally spine tingling. That's how, because obviously it was quite noisy. It was very boisterous, sort of away end.
Yeah.
And the minute they come on, everyone was, and to see, to be in amongst that many people in absolute silence was really, it was brilliant. Yeah, it was beautifully observed and nicely. And Stoke put on a nice show for it as well, with the last post and the sort of presentation.
Nicely done. Well done, everyone.
It's
a proper club, Stoke. And also, I mean, on the same note, their pre-match warm-up t-shirts. They're wearing them Matija Sarkic's #1 t-shirts, which was a nice touch as well. The club have acknowledged that on the Twitter feed. So well done, Stoke City. I think, as I said earlier on at the start of the show, listeners, I think it was a magnificent point given the circumstances and given the effort we put in. Merv, I'm going to play a couple of voice notes for you. We won't play many, just a couple. We're going to listen to Hassan, and then we'll play Rob Woodford straight afterwards. So let's go now to Hassan Koulé.
Hello, Nick. Hassan here. Just thought I'd leave some thoughts and comments after today's 1-1 draw with Stoke. I would have taken that before the game, to be honest with you. It's been a very, very tough week. The boys have worked extremely hard over those 2 games against Burnley and Leeds. I think the fact that we're sitting on 7 out of 9 points over this week is nothing short of magnificent. I was actually expecting that before the week. Looking at the Burnley and Leeds games, I know they were at home, but beforehand you'd think, if we can get a draw out of one of them, maybe nick a win and then nick a draw again against Stoke. The fact we won 2 very difficult home games and got a good point on the road, testament to this squad. Tough game today. It was funny because we actually showed flashes of quality, I thought, in today's game. Against Burnley and Leeds, it was very much old school, back to the wall, break when we can, but we saw moments in the game today where Aziz and Eze got on the ball and showed some good bits of skill. It was good to see Coburn get on the score sheet. He's such a good striker, and if we can provide him more service, I think it'd be even better. I've got to say, a bit of a throwback. I believe the first half was 4-4-2. Bradshaw coming back in, which was quite a surprise. I think a lot of people were shocked by that, to see him just, fast-tracked back into the starting 11. I know he played 45 minutes, but I suppose he had a helping hand with the goal, so overall good performance from him. Ryan Wintle looked good. did not look good. McNamara had a challenging time at left back, but he's playing out of position after all. The goal we conceded, I've got to say, it was interesting because they said on commentary a lot that they always hit the first man, and I think in a previous game Stoke had scored exactly the same way. And I think whoever set the corner up to have Honeyman at the front post was probably a bit of a mistake, because anyone taller would be clearing it. And then Tanganga, bless him, he's been one of our best players this season, and a lot of people online, including myself, call him like a Rolls Royce. Well, I think that Rolls Royce today had a little bit of a misfire. Let's say that he did lose his man, but we'll let him off with that. He's done more than good this season, so it's one of those things. You can't be perfect all the time. So let's just hope the international break doesn't stop this good run. Sometimes a break from football can reset a team a bit too much, and we're going to end up going backwards. So as soon as we get back, I think we've got Sunderland at home, then Pompey away, and then Oxford away. So it's full on again, and hopefully we can bring the same atmosphere as we did in the last 2 games against Sunderland. So yeah, that's my comments from that. I hope all the boys rest up, and we'll go again after the international break. Cheers.
Big thank you, Hassan. We're going to have a quick listen now to Rob Woodford, then we'll come back to Merv.
Yeah, hi Nick, Rob Woodford from Block 4. Yeah, that was another great result and another dogged performance, and I wasn't bothered with the changes because I thought they were part tactical, but also a chance to freshen up the squad after those recent high energy performances, and everyone was playing for the gaffer. It seemed to be playing for the fans, playing for the badge. Great individual performances today, I thought, from Esse, Wintle, Aziz in particular. But Japhet Tanganga was again, for me, the man of the match with another quality performance. And, quality is not a word you would normally associate with Millwall centre-backs. Let's be honest, mate. Someone on social media just said, he had the brass neck to suggest Harris out because we only drew the game. And I have to agree. Harris out on the piss tonight for his work rate for the course of the last 7 days. A massive fixture up next, and I'm sure a sellout gate and a great sense of occasion. But nothing to fear for a Millwall side that's really turned things around since those troublesome days, the final days of the Edwards experiment. Come on, you Lions.
Great stuff, Rob. And before him, Hassan. Harry's out on the piss, Merv. I like that quote. That's my kind of approach to it. I mean, the team spirit, we've mentioned it already. It's wonderful when you see it, and it's screaming out at the moment. These results this week have demonstrated what a level of cohesion and just team togetherness there is at the moment. I think that's Harris's greatest creation, really. It's led to the statistics we've mentioned already.
Yeah, it is. And I think there was another stat I think they showed after we scored against Leeds. I think the stat was, I can't remember how many games it is now, but it might be something ridiculous. Like the last 17 games that Millwall scored first, they've not lost.
Yeah,
I might have got that wrong, but I know it's pretty impressive. I know something like that. That basically that's how he's got them set up. So if we get in front, then they literally just don't let it slip. That's the plan, and that's what saved us from relegation last year, was getting our noses in front and staying in front. But yeah, I memean, I don't think there's anyone better at the moment than Neil Harris at getting team morale up. He just seems to have that magic touch.
I agree.
He seems to know exactly what to say to each player. I think he's one of those managers where he's not a one size fits all. He didn't just ball all of them. He knows, and I think George Graham and Theo Foley were very good at this. I think they know that certain players need treated in certain ways. I can imagine. And Dave Livermore, he's always we talk about scapegoats, and Livermore as a player was always a scapegoat. And I think he's had a bit of stick as Harris is number 2. But he's a loyal. He's a loyal club man, and he's been through a lot with the club. And he knows the club, and that's it's a cliche, but he does. He knows the club inside out. He's played in the club in some of the best times. In the last 20 years, some of the better teams we've had down there, and he's got to be a value to him. His knowledge of the club and the fans and what they expect, it must be really valuable. And so I know I'm happy with Livermore as well. I think they're a good combination.
Yeah, Harry's out on the piss. I think that's my campaign. I might take that up on the social media.
Yeah.
I like the Hassan's quote about Tanganga being a Rolls Royce. I mean, I think even Rolls Royces, if they run out of petrol, Hassan probably misfire as to use a motoring example. And I think maybe that's tiredness. I mean, we've really touched on that, Merv. 3 big games in 6 days is a lot, and I think it was just that mental switch off that led to the equaliser. Because otherwise, Stoke didn't have huge numbers of chances, especially in the second half. A lot of possession. I can't remember what the possession stats were, but they're the usual, lopsided against us. But they weren't creating much in the way of chances. So
it was a similar story to Burnley and Leeds, where we were quite happy for them to have the ball sort of wide and get out wide and ping it across, and we just dealt with it. But one thing I would disagree with Hassan on is that he talks about the international break perhaps coming at the wrong time and breaking momentum. I think it's come at the perfect time. I think if we were playing Sunderland at home this Saturday, I think we really feel the backlash. Yeah. I think we really feel the knock-on effect of these 3 games, and it might have been, it could have been a disappointing defeat. But I think now we've got 2 weeks to freshen up, recuperate, prepare, and we can really go at Sunderland with all barrels, and that will be, like I say, it'll be a sellout crowd.
Yeah,
and it'll be we'll really give them a game. And they've been a bit rocky, Sunderland. I think they've not won in the last 2 or 3. They threw away a 2-goal lead at Coventry last week, or at the weekend, sorry. Yeah. And so they're not unbeatable. They come down with a similar sort of pedigree to Burnley and Leeds, I think. So with 2 weeks rest, we could really give them a game.
I was just thinking, as Hassan mentioned, Tom Bradshaw on the 4-4-2. I don't think we've ever seen Tom Bradshaw played in a proper 4-4-2 formation. I mean, the nearest we might have touched on was when we had Matt Smith up front, but I don't think Rowett ever played a 4-4-2, Merv. I think he was always in this, variation of one striker and then men breaking from midfield around him.
I think what I've always found unfair is Bradshaw gets a lot of stick. Or has had a lot of stick in various quarters, even though he scored 2 or 3 or 4 hat tricks for us in the last few seasons.
That's right.
17 goals in a season.
All he does is score the goals,
Yeah, at this level, to that sort of scoring. And given the injury issues he's had 2 really bad injuries. But what we forget is all the goals he got at Barnsley. If I remember rightly, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I can remember, he played as a front 2 off of Kiefer Moore, who's obviously a decent.
A decent striker,
target man, hold up striker, a decent. So that's where he was getting his goals, and obviously a striker will always fare better if he's got like a big man to sort of like as a foil, so to speak, or he'll have more chances and he will score more goals. So he's playing a slightly different way. He's played as a lone man up front most of the time and still score goals. I mean, still think his goal scorer, I reckon, is good. And I think he's a great player to have in the squad. He's great to bring off the bench. We've got him, we've got Ivanovic, we've got Langstaff, and Coburn. I mean, we've got lots of options, which is really good.
Yeah, suddenly we have options. It's going to be interesting to see whether we do approach the Sunderland game in 4-4-2 formation, or if we go back to the 4-2-3-1. We'll see. But that just occurred to me. I don't think we've ever really seen Bradshaw played as the Lee Gregory to the Steve Morrison.
No,
maybe now we can see that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see against Sunderland.
There's possibly options of Coburn and Bradshaw, Coburn and Langstaff, or perhaps. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see Coburn and Langstaff, to be honest. I think that would be quite a tasty.
That'd be an interesting one, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
There we are. Big thank you to Merv for coming on the show. We're going to be back after this short break with more voice note messages. But Merv, I'm going to let you go now, mate. I want to say a big thank you for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. We'll probably catch up after the Sunderland game, I dare say, Merv.
Definitely.
Let's hope for the right result, in which case we'll get a deluge of voice notes to react to. So
we will.
And we'll be back after the break, but till then, I'll say thank you to Merv. Thank you, mate.
Cheers.
Achtung, Millwall.
Welcome back, dear listeners. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who contributes to the show, including, of course, Rob and Hassan before the break. If you want to join our little posse of contributors, you're more than welcome. It's great to get as many voices as we can possibly get on the show, and they're always welcome. We get obviously a lot more for home games than we tend to for away games, so anyone that can contribute to home or away any comment post-match, always welcome, and I'll always do my best to try and pack you into one of the shows that we are able to generate as a consequence of covering Millwall this season. So big thank you to everyone. Give me a shout on Twitter. I'm at Achtung Millwall on Twitter, or X as it's now known. You can direct message me on there, and we can do one or two things. You can send voice notes on Twitter if that's your want, or else you can send me your mobile number and I'll send you mine back, and you can send a voice note via WhatsApp. It's dead easy, and anything in immediate aftermath of the game, Sunday morning after the Saturday before, or the Wednesday after the Tuesday night, the kind of thing. Any messages reviewing the game, thoughts or contributions, always welcome. So big thank you to everyone that's sent me stuff so far this season, including for this show, and do let me know if you're interested in joining us. The point and purpose of the show is that we don't keep our money. The revenue we generate from the advertising that you hear from time to time through the show gets donated to the Lions Food Hub, which is a fantastic charity, in my opinion. And I'm pleased to report that so far this season we've been able to generate now £500 since August for the Lions Food Hub. So contributing to this show helps to assist a great cause like the Food Hub. So it's all for good purposes, in my opinion. So anyway, on to the remainder of our voice notes following that 1-1 draw on Saturday. First up, we're going to listen to Adam Wicks. Take it away, Adam.
Morning, Nick. Just Adam Wicks here, just leaving my thoughts after yesterday's 1-1 draw with Stoke. I think it was. I would have taken a point before the game. I'm happy we got a point. 14 points out of 18 since the last international break is amazing. Return with the fixtures we've had, it's been really, really positive and good. Interesting to see Bradshaw back. I can only assume he's brought him in just to give Honeyman a little break, because he can do that sort of disciplined closing down role. I'm not sure any of the other forwards can do it. Probably a little bit harsh on Langstaff. I'm sure he would have loved to have played up front with a big man. Be very interesting to see that happen one day, because I think potentially that could be quite a fruitful avenue for us to pursue. Thought Aziz and SA were very good yesterday. Aziz seems I don't know, he seems quite raw, but he's just I like how direct he is. Always putting dangerous balls into the box. He doesn't really think on things too much. He just sort of acts and creates some good situations for us. I think once he gets a goal as well, I can see him scoring a few goals for us. Just overall very very solid. You could tell the players were running a little bit on empty. I think at times we sort of struggled just to keep the tempo up. But the really good thing is obviously we've got a decent squad now where we can rotate things without compromising too much on the overall quality of the side. So really looking forward to getting to the Sunderland game after the international break. Come on, you Lions.
Yes, indeed, Adam. Another interminable international break. They seem to come thick and fast, don't they, mate? Aziz and Ivanovic, I was just thinking as I was listening to your message there, actually both were signed under the new recruitment team, Steve Gallen. And there's been some, at the start of the season, Neil Harris wasn't particularly happy with the quality of the recruitment and kind of made his feelings plain. I'm thinking back to that game at Bristol, his post-match comments. However, wisely or unwisely, it was clear there was a bit of a distance between, the recruitment team, the new recruitment team, and Neil Harris. But I've got to say, and I don't know if you'd agree with me, dear listener, Femi Aziz and Mihailo Ivanovic both have come in a different way. I think Aziz made more of an impact, but then he's had more starts. But let's not beat around the bush. Both look like very, very talented players. And we've paid money for Ivanovic by Millwall standards anyway. Not fortunes by Championship standards, but certainly for us. I don't know what we paid for it, Aziz. I don't think anywhere near as much. But both are really strong players, and I just want to say, I think I've said this on a previous show, so apologies for repeating myself, but it is worth saying that amidst all that kerfuffle that we had at the start of the season, the recruitment team have actually acquired two very decent players there, and two players that you would pay money to watch. I mean, when Femi Aziz is now getting to the stage, dear listeners, where when he gets the ball, you're sitting forward, you're wanting him to do something. Your Romain Esse has been our man for that so far, but we're starting to see that with Aziz, and I can't remember which caller it was. It might have been Merv mentioned Ivanovic, and his ability to feed the ball through, and bring other players in. Another very strong, talented boy. So it's worth mentioning the recruitment team, because that has been a bit of a source of some angst at the club. Good to see Bradshaw back, as you say, Adam, and he was in the side to take the weight off of George Honeyman. I think even at 45 minutes, it was quite clear that probably that's all Tom Bradshaw had in him at this level. And maybe George Honeyman had it in him at this level. I don't know. He's certainly, his battery's down to zero, I think, at the end of a really, really tough week. I'd love to see Langstaff and Coburn, possibly Ivanovic in time, as a two up front. Whether that's going to be for the likes of Sunderland or not, I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision, but I was really pleased to see us play with a two up front. So anyway, there we are. Big thank you, Adam Wicks. Let's move along now. Let's have the inimitable Bobby T. Take it away, Bob.
Hello, Nick. Bobby T here. I've just seen the goal. Like, Tatango, you lost your marker. What you doing? And Aziz at the end, I'll be honest with you, should have hit the target. But hey, we share the points. I'll take that. I'm still frustrated, but yeah, sorry to keep nagging on. But that's what it is. The football show, the Achtung Millwall. Tatango lost his marker. Is the fair result a point? No, we should have beat teams like Stoke, but we never do anyway. So got out my system, and that's it, mate. Aziz should have hit the target. Tatango lost the marker. We go again in 2 weeks. The Black Cats come to the den, and they're going to be surprised. The Lions will kill the Black Cats. Bye for now. Remember, I got the two predictions right. Burnley and Leeds. Bye for now. Bobby T signing out. Morning, Nick Hart. Bobby T here. Sunday morning. 2 points dropped in my eyes, but yeah, great solid point. You can't ask for more from that, mate. Can't win them all, mate. But a bit frustrated, but yeah, the team performance, solid point. As easy should have hit the net at the end. But hey, what can you say? 2 weeks to relax now. For me, it was just a great point. I'm a bit frustrated because we could have been fourth, so much better. But we can't argue where we are. But anyway, remember Nick Hart and Achtung Millwall. I called it. Burnley lead, 6 points. Bye for now.
Yes, you did, Bob. Mystic Bobby, calling it as it was. 2 points dropped. I think I know what you mean, Bob. I mean, having gone ahead in the first half, and I thought we had a fairly equal number of chances to Stoke. They had that opening in the first minute. I thought we were nearly behind. I thought it was a fairly open first half, as I've said to Merv already. So to get ahead, you probably would have expected us to close the game out. But then that's a tribute to how far we've come under Neil Harris. Our expectations now, Bob, are that when we get ahead, like we did at Stoke, that we're going to secure it, that we're going to see the game out at that point. And the fact we didn't, thanks to an error, because I mean, I think it was Honeyman, Tanganga, I'll take your word that he didn't pick up his man. Certainly it seemed to evade George Honeyman. I just think they're tired. I just think that's been a really, really hard week. I know some will say, well, they're professional footballers and they ought to be fit enough to play at this level, but that's a lot of high level, tense football. I mean, you think about the amount of possession that Burnley and then Leeds and then yesterday even Stoke had against us. To be concentrating like that for so long, it veers into the levels of concentration as much as fitness, but certainly concentration levels equivalent to a test match cricket batsman, having to play facing the best bowling attacks. You know what I mean? It's that kind of level of focus and ability to stay switched on. So yeah, I think that was the key to the goal that we conceded. It was a real shame. I mean, I think we were good enough to have closed it out. But one lapse of concentration, and you pay a price at this level. So big thank you, Bobby T. Next up, we're going to go with Matt Webb and then Rob Abbott.
Hi Nick, Matt Webb here. Just giving you my thoughts on yesterday's draw against Stoke City. Listen, I think we can all agree that it's been quite a hectic run of fixtures since the previous international break, and especially this week, the energy and commitment by the players that took part for me took its toll a little bit yesterday, but saying that, we didn't lose, and that's something that's a little bit different to maybe previous sort of like times where we've had a great week in between a great week where we compete against the top teams, and then we play a team that is not in the top six, not even in the top half of the table, but a mid-table team, and we fall flat on our faces. But we didn't yesterday, and you know, Stoke is never an easy place to go and get a result, albeit that Stoke have only beaten us once in 12, I think now, at the against them anyway. So we're becoming a bit of a bogey team against them. But nevertheless, a point earned, I think, really, in yesterday's result. Bit of an eyebrow raiser when we saw the team with Bradshaw coming into it. Now, I thought that was a huge. I thought it was a big gamble personally, with the fact that he hasn't played much in the Resis. Like half a game here, maybe one game, I don't know. But obviously, I think Neil just wanted to see how he did. I don't think, as much as when we saw the team, everyone was shouting, "Oh, it's 4-4-2, 4-4-2, 4-4-2." I don't think so. I think Bradshaw was the lone striker up front with Coburn tucked in behind. That's what it looked like from the offset. I thought personally it should have been the other way around, where Bradshaw would tuck behind and then Coburn being up front. But nevertheless, you know, he helped in the creation of the goal, which again was taken well by Coburn. I don't know about you, but Coburn just reminds me of a younger Peter Crouch, a modern day Peter Crouch, with his height. And even back then, Peter Crouch, despite being tall and gangly, was good on his feet, and he just reminds me of him. And I think he's got a very bright future ahead. Hopefully, after this loan spell with us, it could be a permanent, and it could be with us. So, you know, that's much about Coburn. Other mentions, I thought Wintle again played really well, and we're seeing more of him now. He's coming into his stride a little bit now, and you know, to play that elusive third choice central midfielder, which he is really, and it's nice to have it a player like Wintle, who, you know, no one actually had any assumptions on him or seen much of him prior to coming to Millwall, and then when he did come, he was on the bench quite a bit, so we didn't see much about him then. But I think we're seeing his playing ability, which again, it's really good, the commitment, desire, and again, another lone one. And you know, you just don't know with this club, you know, he might be fighting for a move. Obviously Cardiff don't fancy him, despite him was the club captain. So he put in a good shift yesterday, and well done. It's nice to have a bit of a rotation in that central midfield. So I don't know where Billy Mitchell's going to come into that. You know, who knows? It's going to be an interesting times ahead. Their goal, I love him, but I think Tanganga was to blame for that. I mean, he did lose his man. He let him get the better of him, which is hard to say really that Tanganga was at fault for the goal, but I'm not taking anything away from that fella. He's still a colossus, very good at the back, and again yesterday showed that he was in and around it. But I wouldn't say it wasn't the best of games for him yesterday, but that doesn't make him a bad player, that's for certain. So I thought much about that, but nevertheless, as I said, a draw's a good draw to come into the international break, and we're in a healthy position in the league. Obviously, after the international break, we've got a tough game against Sunderland, so let's get that Den atmosphere again. And then after that, I looked at the run of fixtures: Portsmouth away, Oxford away, Coventry at home, Sheffield Wednesday home. you know, there's opportunity there to grab 12 more points. Like, there's no reason why we can't win all those games. Those are teams that are very beatable, but they're the teams that we could potentially get stuck, and I don't want that to happen. So hopefully the momentum of what we just had, the international break won't disturb us. Hopefully we'll have fitter players come back, and then that will take us really nicely into the Christmas period, when, again, as we all know, is a busy period. Or funny enough, actually, after the international break, it is a busy period, full stop. So yeah, I think it's just about time that the players put their feet up, have a few days rest, recharge batteries, and so should you, Nick. You've had a busy week, obviously, this third show in a week. So yeah, you put your feet up, mate. Anyone obviously being international break next week, so, you know, get down to your local non-league team and yeah, support them. So have a nice break, everyone. Come on, you Lions.
Afternoon, Nick Hart. Rob Abbott from Dublin. Hope all is well. Yeah, very good point that away at Stoke, and that wraps up a really nice block of fixtures for us. To start with the starting team, I'm sure there was a lot of bemused fans, including myself, to see Tom Bradshaw back in the starting lineup. But to be fair, he done well for his 45 minutes he was on. Yeah, I'm not surprised there were 4 changes though, after the amount that the lads have gone through the last week. But yeah, first off, I thought we were very good. We thoroughly deserve that lead. Great to see Coburn. I think he scored 2 now in 3 starts for us. And it's great to see us being a bit creative with our set pieces, not just the one that we scored from today. Even in the second half, we took a short one. And Romain went one-on-one and crossed it, and I think Aziz should score. But yeah, we've got to mix it up. We can't just be lumping it towards Cooper and Tanganga all the time, albeit that worked against Leeds. It's good to see a different side to our game there, coming out or evolving as the season's going on. Then yeah, to start the second half, look, Stoke come out on fire for the first 10-12 minutes. Probably should have had a penalty, and then we conceded. It's a poor goal, I think. Tanganga, it's probably his only mistake he's made since he's been with us. Got beaten by his man. I reckon he thought Honeyman would be heading that clear at the near post, but it just went over him. 1-1, and look, at that stage of the game I was a little bit worried, but the goal turned the game in our favour again, because I think the next 15-20 minutes after that we were the more threatening, looked the better side, played some very good football, but couldn't get that goal, and then the last 15 minutes we sat back and took a point. But overall, very pleasing performance. The changes, they paid off. It's great to see that we have squad depth now, and I'm sure we're all intrigued when we face Sunderland in a few weeks' time, who's going to line up for us, especially up top. He went with the 4-4-2 today. Yeah, well, it'll be Coburn. I'm pretty sure with one. I'd love to see Coburn and Langstaff play together, especially with Aziz, SA, Watmore as options on the wings. But we shall see. We've got to trust Neil. Onwards and upwards. Take it easy. Enjoy the few weeks off, and chat with you soon.
Thank you, Rob. And before him to Matt Webb. Yeah, international break, dear listeners. Just to second Matt's recommendation to get yourself along to a non-league game if you fancy it on Saturday. I'm going to have a look down the non-league fixtures. I haven't been to one for ages, actually, so I might see if I can get myself out somewhere. Rob, yeah, I mean, set pieces, I was thinking the same thing. I haven't mentioned that in the show at all, but we do seem to be trying different things from set pieces, even if we are using Jay, because we probably will do because of his height. But he seems to be rolling backwards a little bit more, trying to escape the melee in the 6-yard box. Different ideas, anything that mixes it up and makes us less predictable has got to be good stuff. So that's hats off to the coaching staff for the mere fact we're working on it. It was screaming out to all of us that followed the lines. That was an area that needed to be improved. And yeah, great to see. I mean, we're going into an international break in 8th position, dear listeners, and we have some fixtures ahead, Sunderland being the biggest, but then, as Matt said, some winnable ones afterwards. Fingers crossed, rabbit's foot in hand. Let's see if we can get some form going into the Christmas break. Anything becomes possible if we keep the momentum going that we've got at the moment. So huge thank you to everyone for contributing, and thank you to you too, dear listener, for tuning into this edition of Achtung Millwall. To the next show, bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.